Welcome to From the Front Row, the podcast where style meets soul. This isn't just fashion talk. We're pulling back the velvet rope to share the real stories behind the glamour of the industry. Join us for bold pivots, quiet resilience, and loud breakthroughs of creatives who are moving the culture forward. Each month, we'll sit down with designers, entrepreneurs, fashion executives, and beauty mavens who aren't just building brands, they're navigating identity, pushing boundaries, and defying expectations. They've been backstage, overlooked, and underestimated, and yet they continue to create and rise. From the Front Row gives you the raw truth, real style, no filters. This is From the Front Row. I'm your host, Shanta. Tune in and come along for the ride. The story starts here. Welcome to From the Front Row, fashion podcast, where we dive into stories, strategy, and style behind successful careers. I'm your host, and today's guest is very special to me. He's someone who gave me my first opportunity in fashion, my former boss and mentor from Bergdorf Goodman, Stanley Shimamoto. Stanley built an incredible career as a lead merchant at top retailers, and now he's stepping into entrepreneurship with his own sustainable store. Today, we're talking about his journey, sustainability, and the lessons he's learned along the way. So whether you're just starting out building your next chapter, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. So before I introduce Stanley, as I mentioned, he was my former boss at Bergdorf Goodman. I just want to kind of dive in and tell the guests and viewers how we met. So I was working at Bergdorf Goodman. I was in the personal shopping department, which from the average person looking in, it seemed like the most fabulous, cushy job. You're working with celebrities, the who's who of the Upper East Side and beyond. You're pulling looks from celebrities. Was very fortunate to work with one of the top shoppers, Linda Cutler, who I love and learned so much about style. But you really couldn't move up. You couldn't be a shopper. You had to have $1 million book, which definitely wasn't achievable as an assistant. So all the assistants were kind of looking for that coveted spot in the buying office. So we would hear about the opportunities. We all plot and try to figure out how we can get in, and we all want to interview at the first opportunity. So I took my shot. I heard about the opportunity as an assistant buyer. It was kind of bittersweet. I was excited. The manager kind of pulled me aside and discouraged me a little bit, said, "Hey, I'll let you interview, but yeah, I don't know if you're going to get it." So in true Cancer fashion, I'm like, okay, I'll show you. I'm going for it. And I did. I practiced for the interview. I came in there. I was so relaxed seeing your big smile, and all the rehearsing I did just was thrown out the window. I basically begged you for the job. I remember even doing the hand gestures. It was really a pick-me moment, and I just said, I'll work so hard. I just had to put it all out there, and, I didn't know if I got it, but I just had to show you my heart and that I really wanted the opportunity. Heard back in a couple weeks. I saw some girls with sad faces. I'm waiting to hear, what was in store for me, and I had gotten the role. So I just wanted to share that, how you gave me that chance. I had heard you had other people that you even knew that you brought in, and I don't know if that's a true story, but they said, he picked you. So that was my pick-me moment. So with that, I just want to kind of introduce you and kind of dive right into it. So we'll just kind of start and kick off with your career beginnings. So let's just start there. So Stanley, thank you. Thank you for coming to my first episode.
Thank you, Shanta.
Thank you. Good to see you, looking fabulous as always. Let me kick off with the first question. So how about you just let us know what first inspired you to get into fashion and retail?
Thank you, Shanta. Thank you for that question. I just really want to appreciate being here. Also, just very briefly about your introduction. Definitely, I interviewed so many people, and I just had a connection with you, and I felt that you just came across as genuine and strong, and you were very driven, and I knew that you could do it just based on your determination and attitude. So that was like the real differentiating factor. So my background, actually, I studied African history in college, and I originally wanted to do development work, and then somehow ended up in management consulting. Fashion was never really in my radar as a career, but unexpected circumstances came my way, and this is, something I want to convey to people who are, on a journey of finding what they want to do in their life. Is like you never know what's around the next corner. But my boss at my management consulting company, I was a business analyst. I said that I think this is not the right job for me. And I went to her and she asked me, "What do you like?" And I said, I really don't know, but I kind of like fashion. She's like, "Oh, my husband works for Saks Fifth Avenue. Would you like to ask him some questions about fashion and working for a retailer?" And one thing led to the next, and I was hired for the Saks Fifth Avenue assistant buyer training program, and that was my first foray into fashion. So that's the beginning. Just a little bit of background before that too. My mom loved fashion.
Okay.
She showed me pictures. There was a famous store in California, like in the 70s and 80s, called I Magnin, and
Okay.
she was an avid I Magnin shopper. Like she didn't have lots of money, but um, she saved her money from her jobs to like buy designer clothes at I
So
Magnin, and
she's
then
like
I would
sowing the seeds with you and introducing
exactly. So
you.
I was
Yeah.
inspired by like her style and her excitement about fashion, and that kind of was in my life.
I would say we definitely have a lot in common there. My mom has always been an amazing dresser, but I was abnormally into fashion since I was a little girl, wearing berets, leather tams, things that kids do not wear. And she looked so amazing on Sundays when she got ready for church. And no one can wear a hat like her, and I feel like I can wear a hat too. So I kind of get that from her. But yeah, she definitely
Amazing.
was my first, my fashion mentor and my first introduction to looking fab in the fashion world. So we have that in common. So you mentioned Saks Fifth Avenue. Tell me about, and as we talked about, we met each other at Bergdorf. What was your experience at Bergdorf from your lens? How was that for you after you left Saks and went on to Bergdorf?
It was exciting. It was a fairly small buying office right across the street from the store. So if even though Bergdorf's is this iconic institution, it felt like we were a small family buying office that was right across from the store, and that we could go and look at the clothes, and it was just in this beautiful townhouse environment. So it was exciting. I felt like so inspired and so appreciative that I could be surrounded by such beauty. It was really great. I think that always in front of the scenes. It's beauty, glamour, like excitement. But being in the buying office was hard work.
Yes.
We really had to like spend a lot of time analyzing the business, like making sure that we were taking care of what the customers needed, following the trends. There was a lot of like unglamorous things in the sense that it was work.
Yes,
But it was
definitely.
always it was always
There's
very
always
exciting.
something going on there. But what
Yes.
I love too, I feel the same way. And I also love, like you said, we're all so connected. I love that I can just go on this with something was wrong and something was damaged. I just go over there and find it on the floor. Having those connections with the sales associates, everyone was so nice, and I thought it'd be a Devil Wears Prada moment, and it really wasn't. Everyone was really kind. We had some amazing people working with us in that group, such as Jennifer Sunwoo, Tracy Margulies, Rupal Patel, all these people who have gone on, like yourself, to lead great careers in the fashion industry. And I kick myself, like, what in the world was I thinking when I just thought I could move anywhere and continue in this fashion world? And it just was not so. A little bit naive, but yes, the beautiful the ambiance, the designers you meet. It was just an opportunity that I would never forget. And I love to say, oh, I worked at Bergdorf, but I went from Bergdorf to Kmart at some point. So there goes that. But okay, so after Bergdorf, you went on. Well, first, let me just interject a story before I go into that. So you talk about how we were connected, and I felt so connected to you. And I will tell this story. When you left, I cried. I'm not a crier. I cried to your face. And I just want to talk like how positive you were in my life. Like you just kind of told me, Shanta, you're going to be okay. You can do this. You work really hard. We'll stay in contact. And that kind of just gave me the motivation just not to like follow you out. So I just want to say that. You made me
Thank
share
you.
tears. Like that's how much I appreciate you and loved working with you.
Well,
So
I just very briefly
yeah,
too, I feel like it is a testament, that connection, because we all, so many decades now, we've kept in touch. So
yes,
I
we're
feel
still
like
here.
feeling is mutual.
Yeah, we're gonna reunite. We're gonna have that
Yes.
reunion. So after Bergdorf Goodman, you went on to work for Susan of Burlingame and Gumps. How did those experiences differ from Bergdorf? How was that transition for you?
You know, it's so interesting. I never really knew about Susan of Burlingame. However, when I was at Saks and Bergdorf's, I bought collections such as Prada, Dolce& and Gabbana, Gucci. All these vendors would talk about Susan of Burlingame. I'm like, who's Susan of Burlingame? And so actually one day she called me and she said, "Will you be my buyer?" And I'm like, "Oh my
Wow.
gosh, Susan of Burlingame
You're like, wait a
called
minute, who are
me."
you again?
And then within 2 weeks, I moved to San Francisco. Burlingame is a suburb of San Francisco. It's in Silicon Valley. It's surrounded by very affluent neighborhoods like Atherton, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, Hillsborough, and so I moved to San Francisco to be her buyer. And one of the biggest differences is she owned four small specialty stores that were spread out in the Bay Area. And so there wasn't like a corporate buying office. It was just me and her. And so it was very intimate, and she was friends with a lot of the designers. For example, we were invited to Jill Sanders' house in Hamburg,
Oh,
and Jill Sanders showed us the collection, and
nice.
at her um, and then also, Michio Prado would sometimes sit in on our appointments and kind of tell us a little bit about some of the designs, or also Ray Kawakubo would come out and say hello, and just kind of like there was this intimacy in that relationship, because I felt like these special store relationships with the designers were closer. There wasn't kind of that corporate structure that kept me more in a formal relationship. I
Right.
felt like I was more in a friendly
More
relationship with.
relaxed. Yes.
Yes.
That's amazing. I didn't know all that, and I'm sure everyone will appreciate those opportunities and be a little bit jealous, like I am quietly. But we had our moments too at Bergdorf and meeting designers, so that's really an amazing experience. So you built such an impressive foundation in those early days. Let's talk about your growth and leadership journey. What would you say was the turning point in your career?
Well, I think when I first started in fashion at Saks and Bergdorf's, like I was excited, young, I had a sense of taste, but I really didn't have experience. I think like life experience. And I feel like in any job, life experience helps me do my job better. And one of the things that I learned at Susan of Burlingame is whenever I went to see the collections in Paris and Milan, before I used to be like, oh, I'm a great buyer, and I can pick things. She really was a great mentor in the sense that she trained me to look at every single look, product, and feel it, and see it on a body. It wasn't just like, oh, that's cute, I want to buy that. It was like she really trained me how to look at whether or not this was a good product, and also whether or not this product was right for our customer. So it was a lot of hard work. It wasn't just like, okay, that's cute, I'm gonna pick that. We'll pick look one, we'll pick look three type of thing. It was more like, let's go and feel it. How does it fit? How does like what kind of feeling feeling do you get from it? Does it like really get you excited? Do you think that our customer will be excited about it? So all of that was a lot of hard work. It wasn't just like going to a fashion show and being cute. It was like really having to select and decide what was good.
And right for your customer, that makes sense. And I agree. Sometimes you're
Exactly.
like, I have the best style. This looks good. And it's not only knowing what the customer wants, but how does it look when you're merchandising on the floor? And what is it going to look like when the customer sees it? I know right after you left Bergdorf and I bought the first evening collection, it was a little hodgepodge. I'm like, okay, this is all fabulous, but together, not so much. I should have thought of the stories a little bit better, but, we live and we learn. So
Exactly.
that's really good to hear how you dug in, and for our viewers as well to understand how you had to really focus on the customer in that phase of your career. Um, so, what does being a lead merchant really mean for those girls and guys who want to take that route and be a buyer? What does it mean to be a lead merchant and really good at your job?
Well, in so many ways and different aspects, and I'll describe them. It's about really caring about people. First and foremost, as we've already discussed, it's about understanding and caring about the customer, like knowing that customer's lifestyle and being able to match what the clothing that I see or the fashion items that I see and fitting it to their lifestyle, as opposed to having it be about me. Like, I want this for you. There is some element of that. However, I have to understand who you are in order to give you guidance on what I think is good for you. So it always comes back to the person, the customer. And then also, as I grew in leadership in the retail industry, I really had to broaden and open my life to understand the perspectives of everybody who worked for me. So if I was the lead merchant and there were buyers, each buyer has a different perspective, has a different
Mm-hmm.
passion, has something that gets them excited. And I really had to challenge myself to respect that about those buyers, because I was like, if we didn't have this like uniqueness that each buyer brought to the table, then it would be boring and kind of just like one dimensional perspective. So I think overall, it was just always challenging myself, like from my own experience, bringing forth wisdom, but also encouraging others who work for me or were our customers to be able to bring out their uniqueness and their passion and their excitement.
I love that. I love really leaning into who people are individually and coaching them accordingly instead of just pushing your own agenda. And sometimes you learn things about people and you see a different point of view and perspective, and that helps you grow and just be a better merchant altogether. So thanks for sharing that. So after success in the corporate world, you start to make a shift here. So can we talk more about your entrepreneurship journey? What inspired you to start your own sustainable store? And tell us about the name and kind of how did you get into that?
Well, I've always had the dream of having my own store, and it didn't have to be big. It just was like I want to have my own little store type of thing. And but I always had fears, like, can I do it? Like, can I take this risk? Like, I have a stable job, all these different things. And but I really made the decision, like, I would have regrets if I didn't do it. This is my dream. And so I took the risk, and I decided one of the things that really excites me about current state of the world is how I can contribute to this world to make it more peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
make things more sustainable, how I can make our environment a little bit more beautiful. And so I decided that I want to take those same skills of recognizing good products that I had developed in the fashion world.
Mm-hmm.
We spent so much time, like, of course, there's the big brands, but we all spent so much time nurturing new designers. Like, we'd find them in a hotel basement or some little like apartment somewhere, and then we're like, oh, I think there's something to this, and I really like the spirit of this designer. I want to spend money on this and bring it into the store. So I wanted to take that same spirit of finding soulful products
Mm-hmm.
and redirect them to sustainable products. And that's kind of where the spirit of starting my own store came from. And my store is called Stanley, and it's a play off my name, Stanley,
I love it.
obviously.
So cute.
And and I the vision and the concept is an eco-friendly convenience store. So where I was coming from is that there are health food stores,
Hmm.
there are vitamin stores, but there isn't like a sustainable CVS or 7-Eleven.
No,
So
there is
like
not.
something kind of something that provides those types of products, but is more convenience oriented as opposed to like health food or vitamin oriented. And that's where it all came together. Then that's how I made the switch. I went from fashion and I moved over to sustainable goods.
Now, do you have both an online website or platform as well as in-store location, a brick and mortar? How can people purchase from you?
Yeah, so actually for 4 years, I had a brick and mortar location in the La Brea neighborhood of Los Angeles. I recently closed that because the majority of my business has been online nationwide and has given accessibility to the whole country. So it's sustainly.com. And so now I focus entirely online, which offers me a lot of flexibility to do a lot of different things and not just tied down to a brick and mortar space. I may open a brick and mortar space again in the future, but right now I'm focused on e-commerce.
So, in making that transition, which is quite a transition, but I love that it gives you that flexibility. What has been your biggest challenge from when you're starting out to now? Have you had one of those moments like, I'm going to go back and be a buyer? Or what keeps you, let us know about your challenge and what kind of keeps you grounded to keep forging forward with kind of your passions and sustainability?
Well, essentially, the biggest challenge is just building a business, structuring it, financing it, thinking about all the different now digital tools that are
Hmm.
available, like Google Ads, Shopify, wholesale digital marketplaces. There's so many things that are available for e-commerce entrepreneurs. So trying to kind of puzzle all that together has definitely been a challenge. However, one unique challenge of my business is to really help people understand the value of a sustainable lifestyle. I think that most behavior today is kind of rapid consumerism and also like wanting more and then maybe having a lot of single-use expirable
Hmm.
products and
Yes.
I do too, like that's a
Yeah.
part of my that's a part of my life. However, I feel like there for me there's equal excitement in reusing, recycling, and just making little extra efforts that make things more sustainable and create longevity of products. And so I'm constantly trying to message that to my customers and helping them feel confident that actually that little effort makes a big difference
It
and
does.
you
Yeah.
can be completely confident in that. And I'm not that kind of like activist, like environmental activist is like where it's like shaming you if you don't do these
Yes.
things. I'm more
Calling
I'm
people
more of
out
a
as they look on in shame.
yes. So I'm more of the perspective of, even if you could do one thing,
It
I
helps.
appreciate that. It's
Yeah.
really great.
Small wins.
Exactly. Small
Start
wins,
somewhere. Start somewhere. And then, go deeper and make
step
it
by
more of your
step.
lifestyle.
Exactly.
But you got to start somewhere and take the first step. Um, so I'm going to kind of transition to another topic. Thanks for sharing your story about that. One thing that I've shared a little bit earlier about you is I've always admired how you support others. You're definitely supportive, even in things that I felt personally that it wasn't my strength. You didn't bite my head off. You just said, you did this wrong. This is what you have to do. And so that really helped me just not to give up. And I will have you know that I am pretty decent at retail math right now. When I was with you, I probably slept through it a little bit in school, thinking I was just going to be in product or a famous stylist. But moving on to kind of mentorship and advice. What in your opinion, I know you worked with several different head employees, buyers, different perspectives we talked about. In your opinion, what separates good employees from great ones? how can you make yourself stand out in general in fashion or in any other industry that you've worked in?
I think humility and also an openness to mentorship, just like you're saying. I think a lot of people come in, and I was like this early on too, feeling like, I know what I'm doing. However, as I mentioned when I started to work for Susan at Burlingame, she really encouraged me to like look at every single thing, and maybe I could have been closed off to that and said like, oh no, I'm gonna just choose whatever I want to choose. But I was open to it. I was like, oh, I feel like this is kind of this apprenticeship relationship where somebody who has devoted her life to like having stores in the fashion world, there's something to it, and I want to learn from that, And so, and I'm a new trainee. I want to like listen. I want to try. But I was open. I was open. It was hard, It was like it's like every day I had to show up and I had to like try the things she asked me to try, and I did it one step at a time. So I think to people who are wanting to rise up in their career, whatever career it is within the fashion world, I think, have confidence. Like we have, I think, a specialness in our uniqueness, our unique perspective. However, but also be open to other people's perspectives, learning from other people, trying it. And I think that creates growth. Like openness and action creates growth.
Thank you for that. And I will just say we are so in sync. Literally, that was my next question. What advice would you give to someone breaking in the industry? And you're right on it. You've already answered that question. So before we kind of get towards the end and wrap this up, I love to do something fun with you. We're going to do something which is going to be called Fashion Flash Round. So I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and you just go with your first response and let me know what it is. So no time to really ponder it. Just let me know what comes off the top of your head. So question number 1, favorite designer of all time?
Albert Elbaz of Lanvin.
Okay. Why is that? What do you love about that designer?
I loved his femininity. He passed away during the pandemic, but he really loved women. Like his clothes were like super feminine. There was like a softness, there was like a freshness. It like made women feel like women. And then when I would help women get dressed in clothes by men, their life lit up. Like they felt like I'm a girl, I loved that life.
Okay, next question. One trend you love right now?
The trend I love right now are, I guess, looser fit jeans. I feel like
Oh,
my
me
whole
too.
life
I'm
everybody
loving
had
that.
tight jeans.
I'll never let go of my
So
skinny jeans, and I don't care if they go out. I'm very petite and short, so I'm gonna need to do my skinny fitted jeans. But I'm really immersing. I'm really getting into the larger wide leg pants and baggy clothes as well. I like to go back and forth. So that I agree with you there.
yeah, and then yeah, and I see my nieces. They're like in their early 20s, and I'm, wow, you look great. Like I just love that.
Yeah, just not having to feel everything has to be so fitted and fitting the
Right.
body and still being comfortable but still looking chic, because I really think you can be so chic. I
Exactly.
mean, I'll pair with I love my fitted caps, layers, wide pants. I'm all about it. So one trend that you would never bring back. That's the next question.
One trend that I would never bring back. I always kind of look forward, and then also like I love all sorts of like different looks, kind of going back to the uniqueness of a person. So I think that flat out blanket saying that this trend I don't like or I don't want to bring back, maybe it's good for some person, like their body type or like
You're
the
so
way that
sweet.
their personality. So.
You're like, it can work. It depends on who you are. So I'll say something and it'll age me a bit, and I'm guilty of rocking the trend super hard. Like the drop crotch pants that MC Hammer wore. Never bring those back. I mean, I'm guilty of wearing them. I fully committed to the look, even wearing like the steel toe shoes with the patent and all that. But no, it's just I never want to see those again. So I probably will come back again because I said that.
Well, one thing to think of, I guess for me, like there was a time when jeans like had like dirt and like all kinds of things on it. I'm not really a dirty person. I would say I'm very much more of like a clean person, but people can be dirty if they want to.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of the grunge thing, right? So I have a few
Exactly.
more
Yes.
questions for you. So what is next for you, Stanley? What's next for you and your sustainable journey and your brand? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, I'm continuing to grow my business, and what I want to talk about regarding my business and how I feel it's going to grow is, I am very much a people person. So so in the sustainable space, there are these natural product conventions. So I always kind of joke about it because I used to go to Paris fashion shows, and now I go to like natural products conventions at convention
It's
centers.
totally
And
different, but you might find some fashionable people there, so you never know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I always get dressed up fashionable for these conventions. But it comes down to like I go to all these different booths where they're the makers are, and I talk to them, and I'm like, does their spirit resonate with me? Do their values resonate with me? And then I'm like, because I believe the values and the spirit, like somebody's soul, is in their product, and then the product ultimately connects to the customer in the store. So I want to bring in products that are inspired, that have like certain values from the maker, and so I'm constantly like making, instead of just like, oh, I want to buy that, I want to buy that. I like talk to the makers, and then I want to represent these makers and like invest in them and connect them to the consumers. So constantly like looking at innovation and looking at what's new, what people are thinking about. And I want my store to always have this portfolio of products that is exciting, inspired, and soulful.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important. And I know for myself, when you know about the person's story who's making a product, you really just feel more connected to them, especially if it's something relatable. So just knowing who's behind that, I think that's a great strategy. So, how can our listeners and viewers support your work?
Well, I think if they're able to take a look at my website, sustainly.com, and really think and research the products that are offered there, because I think there is a purpose for every single product, and there are values behind it. And I'm very appreciative of the customers that I already do have, because I know they come back repeatedly to buy those products because it really works into their lifestyle. The values resonate with them. They feel like they're making an impact by buying certain things. So just some examples of products that I have. So I have like mineral toothpaste or laundry detergent that is in a concentrated sheet. So there's no water in it. It just dissolves in the laundry machine. Also, I have all sorts of natural products, snack products. So there are certain things that maybe like water lily seed. It's kind of like a popcorn type snack. However, it takes less water, or like it's less environmental impact to create this snack. And so there's all sorts of little things that are interesting nuggets of information that consumers connect with. So check it out, and I'm sure you'll find something exciting.
I'm sure we will. If not, just to learn more about you. And like you said, it has to start somewhere. So just finding that first thing and just helping you in your sustainable journey, I definitely need to support that. I have not purchased anything, so I will hold myself accountable to doing that. Hearing the word
Thank you.
sustainable so many times today, I really need to do better. So I will hold myself accountable to that as well. So thank you, Stanley, for joining me today and sharing your journey, your insight, and your heart with us. It truly means a lot, not just professionally, but personally. And to everyone listening, I hope today's episode reminded you that growth takes time, courage, and the willingness to take risk. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's passionate about fashion and entrepreneurship. So again, Stanley, tell us one more time your how we can reach you, your website, as well as your Instagram handle, so we can learn more about your
Yes.
company.
My website is called sustainly.com, and it's Sustainly with an EY on the end. And then my Instagram is at Sustainly. So please check it out. I'm so appreciative of all of you. And I really loved being here. It's my pleasure, Shanta, to
It's
speak
my
with you.
pleasure. Thank you for being my first guest. So I'm Shanta, and this is From the Front Row Fashion Podcast. Until next time, stay inspired, stay focused, and keep claiming your seat at the front row.